A possible loss of federal funds would greatly harm KOSU and would likely force the closure of smaller public radio stations across the country. But you have the power to help stop that from happening. Go to kosu.org/cuts to learn how you can help. That's kosu.org/cuts.
Welcome to the round table for Red Dirt D&D Curse of the Clockwork City. I'm Brooke Bullock.
I'm Johnny Payne.
Joined
I was going to do that just to make you guys mad.
I'm Michael Frost.
Kiri Hester.
Connor Shenold.
We're not supposed to have outtakes in the...
We're not going to follow what you tell us to do, bro.
I know outtakes.
I will say
we're doing it live.
that.
All right, it will do.
Connor Shenold is exactly what happened. We made this nice little intro. Last time we confused Michael. Maybe hurt his feelings just a little bit because he didn't see my gigantic motions as I pointed to Connor to start us off.
Yeah.
And then he was like, wait, what are we doing?
But this time was a big screw you to Brooke.
I know, it's
Yeah.
great. Like most of the campaign has been.
Hey,
when
welcome
it comes,
to the DMC.
When it comes to planning.
Honestly, it's kind of your fault for not asking me.
Well, what I was referring was how many times are we going to split the party? Like,
We
is
don't
it-
like each other. I don't
I don't know how much I need to tell you.
I gotta say, when I'm editing this, my feelings are a little hurt.
Listen, there are some parties that are like
Because
instantly
at least
all best
August likes me.
There are some parties that we're all instantly best friends, and there are some parties where
it's just going to take a little longer.
it takes
Yeah.
a little longer.
And I love that.
And it's not wrong. I don't know. The dynamic has been realistic, if I can use that word,
Yeah, we're
right?
not-
Like, we've talked before about, hey, parties join together and they're like, hey, we're new best friends.
Yeah,
we
you
love
do a
each
little
other.
hand waving.
Yeah.
Yeah, but this has been a little more realistic. But indeed, Connor has that moment where
I really don't like the guy.
it's just
Well, and Moxie
like
says
him.
something really similar directly to why are we hanging out
why
with
are you
these
even
yahoos?
hanging out with those yahoos? Yeah, back upstairs. Yeah, right? And then on top of that, maybe it's just part of urban adventuring, but an aspect of urban play. Like there's so many places when you're in the city that every individual character can go.
Right.
Like
Without
you're not
being-
stuck at a campsite with each other. Like, I don't like
Right.
this guy. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
We're
I'm gonna
not
go
stuck
home.
in a campsite with each other, but we're also not very far away from each other, right?
It's also true.
Within
Yeah.
play time, within 30 seconds or a minute, we say, oh yeah, let's meet back up. And then of course in storytelling time, it's within an hour or so. Listen, if the bat signal went out, 3 of us could get together pretty instantly, and we'd have to hope that Sable heard about it.
Yeah.
We need to come up with some kind of lantern in the window situation.
Yeah.
Go buy me a sending stone.
Some Paul Revere.
Yeah.
His name is Paul Revere. We need our Sable here.
Some carrier
That was cute.
pigeons.
I did enjoy that one.
We've got sending stones, which I think apparently we have some, but if you guys have
Well-
sending stones, then
Yeah.
I'm not exactly liquid right now.
well, no,
I
but
don't
I'm-
got sending stone.
I'm
in mine.
You
almost
should have
certain-
taken the 200 gold pieces
That's
from
dirty
Zaylen Pierce.
money.
250
it still
gold pieces.
spins.
It does.
It still
Moxie
spins.
would not let her pride. And also, that I will say, I did, dear listeners, I did a speed listen. When I woke up today, I still had to finish listening to episode 19.
Good
Oh, wow.
So I did a speed listen this morning. We sound really funny at 2 times speed.
I'm hilarious.
And then I did okay, I remember we're just gonna skip this combat. We're just gonna fast forward through here. August really sad backstory. He lives in a hut. And Dr. Stone goes shopping, and we just kind of fast forward it a little bit. But I had forgotten about the outtake in episode 19, which is the interview with Zaylen Pierce, where I just said, blank this guy. Listen, I don't know if it's Kiri, if it's Moxie, if it's some kind of combination of the two, Miri, if you will. But it's we don't like this guy at all. And I know he's supposed to be the villain, so we're not supposed to like him, but there's like a visceral reaction of not liking this man.
There was a really interesting moment at the table where, and sometimes this happens, we'll circle back around, like the last dialogue in 21 or 22 with Minthra and Sable, like she is so harsh, and that's hard to do sometimes. We'll circle back to that. But yeah, there was a moment here in the setup of the table. I sit right across from Kiri, and I could feel the vibe. Like I'm like almost pissed. Like you were just like you were just like, F this guy was the appropriate response from you. You did not like him at all.
Kiri definitely had some choice words.
It's so funny because I'm taking like, and it might be years under my son as a dungeon master. He is the kind of does
he play a lot of jerk villains?
No, he plays the person you think this guy's definitely the villain. This guy's the
a lot
big
of red
bad.
herrings.
Yeah, and it's like, oh no, this guy was totally benevolent, and it's this guy who was the smartest guy.
Zaylen Pierce is a bad guy. He may not be the bad guy, but he is a bad guy.
I don't know if he necessarily is.
He is a bad guy.
Where like there is a possibility he actually didn't know what was happening to these kids.
It's an opportunity for him. It's like a businessman who all of a sudden is like, I've got an opportunity to do this stuff, and
I only have to exploit some injured children.
It'll benefit me, but I don't have to build a big, huge headquarters in a volcano. That's
what I'm saying. He is a bad guy. He might not be the big bad guy, but he is a jerk. He is a villain to these children. He is a pompous, arrogant, full of himself.
See, I don't even know if you interviewed the kids if they would see him that way.
Exactly.
Because
and is he a bad guy?
wasn't
He's
the
helping
one that
them.
kidnapped them. He wasn't the one that got
He's
their
giving
limb
them a
removed.
job and a nice place to live.
Not
Just to
just
get
job,
to
he's
fancy.
giving them actual prosthetics that are state of the art for free, not checking their insurance. He's just boom, you get it for free, kid. That's a wonderful opportunity for them.
To give you a better life. That's air quotes, by the way.
He and the Sapphire Society might have a lot in common.
And that was the other thing. It was like, I'm really, and also I don't think Sapphire Side's all that bad. I'm actually kind of thinking I'd like to join the Sapphire Society. Surely they need some medical expertise.
That could potentially be arranged.
Oh, plot
Because I haven't
twist.
gone into my backstory yet.
No, we haven't gone too much.
So that's why I'm like, no one's actually asked me about what I have done in the past, what I did in between at the orphanage and Ironspire.
Right?
We don't even went to medical school.
Oh my God, you were the drug dealer, and you had to leave town, and you came here, and suddenly drugs pop up.
That's
But really, if I were like
suspiciously
addicted
why
to
Shiv started popping up.
You were the doctor, the happy guy.
The Cider House Rules.
Yeah.
Anyone ever seen that? Where he's
I was thinking of Steve Martin in Little Shop.
Oh, yes,
The
the
dentist.
dentist. Yes. 'Cause I'm a dentist.
Say,
Oh no, he's gonna kill me.
With
But
the laughing gas.
listen, I think, and a character story arc wise, it makes sense for Moxie to really hate this man exploiting his power over others.
Yeah.
And maybe we're also learning a little bit about Kiri as a human being. I did not. And that's why I think she gets so. I don't want to say defensive. Defensive is not the right word. She's not really defending anything, but so like anti.
Almost offended in a way.
Like very upset, at least is the word, that Stone is even considering like working from the inside or anything like that. Like she gets very like, this is a bad idea, you shouldn't do this. Well, what are you gonna do when he tries to get you to do something against your morals, and stuff like that. And so I think that interaction really colored her view of Dr. Stone, if that makes sense. So like she kind of wasn't either way about him, and now I don't want to say she's suspicious because she doesn't think that he would necessarily do anything bad, but she now sees him as maybe he's a man who could be manipulated. Maybe he's a man who Zaylen Pierce could say, I didn't know anything about this. I am trying to help these kids. I'm trying to get them a job. I'm giving them these great limbs at no charge. I'm trying to give them a better life. I'm just not asking questions. And to Moxie, that part of it wouldn't jive. But like the ignorance is bliss situation. She wouldn't be able to get past his willing ignorance of the thing. And so I think, and so then her and Sable have that conversation about the parents.
You're welcome.
You mean the egg that we did? And so, and then I don't want to say Moxie disappears for an episode and a half, but she does.
Yeah.
She's not, Kiri's there making jokes, but.
And that's been like.
But it's because we keep splitting the party.
Right. And it's been, like I said, that's that idea of like the realism thing that I hope the listeners are good with, but it kind of reminds me in a way of the old TV show Babylon 5, where they had this arc and you would have characters and they would be the main character in that episode, or for like a 3-episode arc, and there'd be a little thing happening in the background with this other character that rises in episode 2 and rises a little in episode 3, and then they are the main character in episode 4. And it's been interesting because there have been moments at the table where each one of us, 30 minutes where you just kind of waiting for the other people to play out. But you guys have done great with it.
Yeah. We're doing really good at one of the reasons and that. I can't remember if this happened on mic or off mic. Sorry. Oh my gosh, Michael. Michael.
Did we just see that transporter happen?
Where'd Michael go?
That's I'm gone.
But
glad you're back, Johnny.
Connor was talking to me about. I think it was after the session because I made a joke I've been sitting out for an episode and a half, and Connor was like, well, Moxie just told me that she doesn't want to be involved in this.
I know. Which was a great character thing of I don't know if she wants to do anything or not. And so it's realistic.
If you kind of notice, Sable has always been, don't involve at least the siren song in this.
Right.
That's why he pushed so hard to get Dr. Stone to find his own place.
Keep my business clean.
But that's also Sable, in his own way, trying to protect Moxie. A little bit of insight there.
Yeah.
But, and so
she
she
secretly
tells him,
Sable is my best friend. He just won't admit it.
So she tells him,
sure.
I don't understand why, I'm being pulled into all this. I just own a bar. I don't want to be the one that saves the world. And Sable gives the joke of Gandalf. But
well, and something that hasn't happened yet, but that I've talked to Brooke about, is that if Moxie went to Rhapsody and said, I don't want to be pulled into all of this, Rhapsody wouldn't push her into it, but would be like, why are you choosing to live a safe life? And I don't think it's happened on mic, we've talked about it, but Rhapsody lived as a pirate for a solid century.
Yeah.
So, as an elf, she lived her adventure, and she only settled down at the siren song because she was old and heartbroken. I don't want to say old, she wasn't old. She was an adult and heartbroken. And so, but yeah, and then I was thinking about it while I was doing my speed listen today, that from Rhapsody's point of view, Zaylin Pierce is a pup. Who is this? Who is this young man?
Could very well true. What was interesting in listening to that was Zaylin's self-control, I guess, in a way, because you guys went into that private room and were really just rude. You guys were just on him and not letting him,
right, well,
I wasn't.
This is true.
I think it was August and Moxie.
This is true.
I didn't say anything until the very end.
It was so funny that as Moxie...
You throw money at him.
So when he leaves the room, I do two things. He gets up to leave, and I say something about don't let your aspirations hit you on the way out, making fun of him, very clearly reaching for power. And then the other thing is I throw the money back at him and I say, I can't afford the taxes. The king always takes the biggest cut. Kind of to remind him, you're not the king. the king is still over you. So those two, other than that, I guess I probably would have been staring daggers at him the whole time.
And honestly, it's not Moxie's fault. Neither of them caught the very lackluster throw.
I will say, as a DM, Brooke could have had Zaylin Pierce catch the money, say something witty, and leave the door. But that's not the choice that Brooke made.
Yeah, no. No, I wasn't going to double down on. You guys all fantastic questions you had about how
August asked 0 questions. All of his questions were accusations.
How does he know this?
Yeah.
I'm going to come back to that.
Explain yourself.
But I felt like kind of his portrayal of power, quote unquote, air quotes in a way, because he had said those things about knowing something about you, right?
Yeah.
That to have him.
Because he's an
To
arrogant,
have him like
pompous.
to have him like grab the money bag out of the air, or to like, for your barb not to have landed, so to speak. I didn't want him to feel like anything you guys did wasn't, that he was above that reach.
Yeah, you didn't want to make him feel
Untouchable.
Untouchable, yeah. So it did let that hit. I think it was really great that either Kiri or Moxie said something about, you're a man, if we let you talk.
Oh, it was Kiri.
Yeah.
Kiri knows that if we let this man evil villain monologue, he's gonna.
Which then, it was
mix
hilarious
himself.
because at least in my re-listen, he didn't take the bait. Like, he didn't talk a lot.
Because you guys kept talking.
But then August E. Graymore just jabbers on and on and on, talks all about the arms stuff. What was going on with August there in that room?
August has moments that'll be revealed in this roundtable and in later episodes after whatever, that he sometimes feels 10 foot tall and bulletproof, and he has 0 patience.
Yeah.
And this was that quote unquote kicked in, and was like, no, we got to find this out. This is the kids now. Questions, action, go.
Yeah.
And I love the look on everyone's face, especially Michael's. Mine was just like, "What's up with the kids, dude?" And Michael's just like, "You can't just start off with the exact thing we want to know."
Here's the thing. Everybody jumped down my throat when I did that as Blackjack. Everybody jumped down my throat.
It's because you did it every
single time.
Every single time.
Here's my name. Here's everyone else's name. Here's our intentions and our plot and our secrets. What are your intentions,
That was
plots,
my
and
character.
secrets?
It's what my character would do.
Yes.
Sable and Moxie.
Hold on, I got a legal call I need to make here. 1-800-DEWE-CRIT'EM.
Yeah. So that was what that was. Yeah, I had something.
Well, it was
and
an
I got
interrogation.
distracted.
You're a cop.
And also,
That's
a
also
mix
true.
of, and it's not. So Johnny was sitting here like, I'm not going to use my character sheet for this. I don't want to roll intimidate. I don't want to roll insight.
Yeah.
I want to have this conversation with Brooke in character.
Yeah.
And so we did, and that's why, if you notice, I wasn't making any of the checks.
Mm-hmm.
Like you did, I think, Connor. And
Which is the other reation why
making checks of the way he was responding to me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
wasn't.
Yeah.
Which is the other reason why I don't necessarily buy. I certainly don't buy him as the big bad, because he didn't protest too much. He didn't.
He knows evil's happening. He's just not orchestrating it.
Right. Well, and that's why he is just taking advantage of a situation.
Yeah.
Maybe he's even
I
like
can
the
benefit from
clueless business owner, the clueless president of the CEO.
Right.
And then there is like a vice pres that's
Oh
manipulative.
no! I don't
It
think
is
and
willful ignorance.
I don't think. I think it's plausible deniability.
Catchphrase.
I don't think it is. It's someone under him.
He's
I don't
not
think
a-
it's someone in the business. It's his business. He's running it the way he sees. But there is something else pulling strings.
I don't think necessarily that Zaylin Pierce is a puppet. I think there might be somebody
Right.
who thinks, oh, if Zaylin Pierce were to see a business opportunity in front of him, he would take it, and that could help me out. But they aren't necessarily like doing that on purpose. If that
Now
makes
there is the
sense.
doctor that he mentioned, that at the piercing light, that might be involved.
Other than Stone Cipher.
Yeah.
Right. I don't remember his name either.
I have it in my notes.
But I knew that Connor would, so.
Uh,
But I will say that interview, this interrogation, if you will, because I know that Brooke likes to talk about these things. That's when Kiri gets her gear of fate. Because I get very suspicious that he is doing some kind of detect thoughts or something like that, and then I rolled really badly, which is classic D&D, like the player knows something, but the character can't figure it out.
Yeah.
And of course that goes the other way too. There was in my home game, we were trying to figure out how to solve this problem, and one of the guys playing with me, this is usually, because we don't play D&D, but he was like, in D&D, this is where I would give up and ask the DM to let me do an intelligence check, because my character's smarter than I am.
Yeah. It's like when you've got the worst is when Aiden or anybody gives me
When Kiri gives you riddles.
riddles. Oh, I can't. I'm good at riddles unless I'm sitting at a D&D table and then all of a sudden I have an IQ of 3.
Yeah.
Yep.
But
So it's Dr. Wickham,
Dr.
but I don't have the
Wickham.
first name.
Doctor?
I do, but
Doctor.
it's really small. Arthur.
It was Ambrose.
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 I'm going to say Arthur is too
He-
normal of a name.
Ambrose Wickham is the guy at the Piercing Light Orphanage, and Dr. Ignatius Thorne is the mysterious yet brilliant doctor that's also interested in alchemy and experimental medicine. So.
Yeah, that's what I say. So I think and I would like to, hopefully, that's why I gave him my information, was because I would like to have a sit down with this Dr. Wickham, acting as colleagues rather than, so that way, because he'll share things with a colleague, I believe.
Yeah.
Anyway.
That works. August's rush, shall we say, to get answers.
Rush.
Good movie.
August Rush.
I love
Didn't
that
even realize
movie.
my brain did that.
Yeah.
Jonathan Rhys Meyers is my favorite.
Yeah, it was patience in that moment.
Yeah. You even then were given a tease to something that dropped later. We see a couple of kind of reveals in August in these last couple of episodes.
Johnny bringing the emotion? No.
Yeah, I know. Does August have a problem? Does he need a little help?
It's not a problem.
You can quit anytime.
Anytime I want. I just don't want. All that's been revealed is August made a purchase.
Yeah.
That
This
all
is
that's
also
been revealed.
true.
I have seen, you watch TV and undercover cops make purchases all the time.
That's right.
That's
They
true.
don't need help.
I did.
Dun dun dun.
And this is going to sound really self-centered because it was Johnny's great storytelling, but Johnny reveals August's living situation,
Yeah.
and then
That was also
to Sable later, Moxie makes a joke, or no, to Arya later, she makes a joke like, I keep telling August to take Kobe back to his apartment. He says he doesn't have room, but I bet he does.
Yep.
And
Sensitive swine.
No, it's great because
Yeah.
these characters don't know each other.
Yeah.
That was my favorite part too. I think in the 4-episode arc too, sound effects was you moving the trash can over.
That's what I described,
climbing
yeah.
up the
It was
My
great.
I
favorite
wanted to
sound
describe
effect.
it really well so you knew where I was.
My favorite sound effect was right before Melody starts screaming, which those separately
Screens
the
were
screams.
amazing.
I wasn't expecting them. Had to turn the radio down. But
They
the
were
file
amazing.
cabinet. Moxie goes to look up Melody's file, and you hear her go into the office, shut the door, open the filing cabinet, start shuffling through the
I
files,
had to
and then the
pause.
scream.
I had to pause everybody's because we were talking. It's like, and Kiri especially, like, okay, I do this. Like, wait a minute, let's pause each one of those and have you actually doing them physically.
was
It was so
trying
much
to
fun to
solve
be able
the
to do that.
mystery.
Yeah.
It was so much fun to be able to kind of do that. It's like let's stop the dialogue for a moment. Actually have your character doing it,
So
walking in, opening a
canonically-
filing cabinet. So yes, filing cabinets exist in our world.
I do love the difference between me and Kiri of Kiri's blah, 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 blah. I do this, and this, which is Fair. Me, I have to think about everything. So I'm just like,
Adding
I
space, tightening space,
go
right?
into my room at the dorms of the Sapphire Society. I put away all my stuff. I put my hat on the newly purchased hat rack.
I need
It's
Melody's
very slow for
address.
me.
I need Melody's address. I need to go to her house.
Yeah.
Yep.
I need to find PETA.
Which, by the way, every time you said PETA, I know it's in your accent. So it's Peter, but with PETA, I kept on thinking of the guy from Hunger Games.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
I want
young
to throw
PETA.
out this theory, and I could be wrong, but I might have caught it on my re-listen for the episodes. Did I find Peter in the alleyway?
I am not going to say.
Oh,
I am not going
I
to
was
say,
like-
but I don't have a poker
So-
face either. Michael Cross went,
Yeah.
oh!
You shouldn't have saved him.
Sorry.
You should have left him there.
Yeah, there was just something on my re-listen that I was like, oh, I think I found Peter in the alleyway.
That's
See,
fantastic.
you thought of Hunger Games. I thought of Family Guy.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
PETA.
Peter.
So true. So yeah, we have these great moments where Moxie, talks about
But actually,
August and his
let me
living
ask you
situation.
this. Let me
Yes.
ask you this. This is a DM question. Because obviously you didn't know that Sable was going to leave Moxie out of the, I don't want to call it the Shiver discovery, but
Right.
triggering the Shiver plot here, when we're talking about storytelling. So, did you already have the harmony bit written, or did you have to kind of make that up?
That was 100% ad lib on the
Because
spot.
there's like, wait, I
job,
need
bro.
Moxie in on this too.
That's 100% an ad lib on the spot in the moment behind the DM screen, because it made perfect sense not to connect Moxie, because she said she didn't want to be involved in all
But
this
see,
stuff.
now she is, because now they
right?
come after her.
So I
people.
needed a way to motivate Moxie.
And I think we
Applause
previously.
you for that
yes,
one, bro.
no,
Yeah.
completely, and which
Yeah.
is not. I mean, when you
And so
when you
that
read,
and Peter and all that was just like,
Yeah.
So
when you read like Adventures League books, there's the hooks, the adventures.
Yeah.
Like, how do you get your adventurers
Right.
involved? Because there is very ample reason of why should I even care?
yep.
Well, why should my
And
character?
maybe it's in
Obviously,
the
I care because
neighborhood,
I'm
and she
playing a
wants to keep
game.
the sapphires, or she wants to keep
The song.
the siren song safe and a good place to
But
be.
I think we've also
but
talked
that's
about-
not
I
real
had-
super personal.
Yeah.
And I had talked to Brooke, like, I don't want to say privately because I don't think we're private, but I had talked to Brooke, like, off table. I said, if you ever need Moxie to do something, threaten the song or threaten her people because she now is going to start a DARE program for the city.
Just say no.
Just say no.
But that was okay. So talking about Shiver, that was the most awkward to start out with, was because really we've only had a real anti-drug thing since about the 50s. Before that, it was like, if you're doing drugs, it's like, who cares?
Yeah,
I mean,
you're going to ruin
yeah,
your
but
own
now these
life
are
and we'll let you
fantasy
die
drugs.
on the street, and it's
that's
okay.
why,
These
that's
are
why it's like
fantasy
Sherlock
drugs.
Holmes running
They're
around doing
worse.
cocaine and heroin. It's no big deal.
Yeah.
It's because who cares? But since we are based basically probably from about 1890 to 1920s, if you were to compare it to an Americana time frame, drug use would not be that big of a deal, and it would mostly just be in your poor areas that. Because opium was not illegal,
Right.
You just had your opium dens, and
They were still
people
putting
were
cocaine in Coca-Cola.
That's
Yeah.
right. And
If
August was talking about that, right? He was like, it might compound
if it
a
interferes
problem,
with your,
but
if you commit a crime while doing it, then it's a problem. But if you're not committing a crime, if you're just sitting out in a den smoking opium,
Yeah.
who cares?
Yeah.
You're never going to get busted for opium or cocaine or marijuana or anything. It wasn't until the 1950s that it became a big deal in this country, and really the 1980s.
Yeah.
Or the 1970s, technically, when the real war on drugs began.
yeah.
But cranked up with Nancy Reagan's "No, just
Did you
say
say
no."
cranked up?
But actually,
Why am I suddenly hungry for eggs?
yes, this is your brain on eggs.
But then
Brain on drugs.
I
brain on eggs.
played it the complete opposite way, whereas August has busted a dealer on the street before because drugs are bad, okay? And that was how he got to the connections that he made.
Yeah.
So from one perspective, it's like, oh, no big deal. From another perspective, it's like, yeah, this is wrong, and he knows criminals who do this. People who do this are bad guys. It's a bad thing because we are not in 1820 Chicago. We're in a fantasy world of D&D setting. So it could be perspective of like maybe where you're from. It's like, yeah, there's opium dens all the time. They just stink. And then, but here it's like, no, it's bad and it's controlled and
And
regulated.
that's
But I liked-
another thing
go.
when you introduce like fantasy drugs.
Yes.
So like, yeah, back in our time, it wasn't so bad because
You weren't plane shifting.
you weren't plane shifting, you weren't summoning weird skull things or spiders. So like this makes sense to kind of crack down on.
If it's
Crack
dangerous,
down on.
yeah.
I'm sorry. It's just never.
Yeah,
I
know.
liked August. That's very true. I liked August's take on it. He said some line about, I think it was August, who said some line about whenever it starts to affect the middle class and above, that's when we pay attention to it, right?
Or when it becomes deadly in itself. So I mean, Shiv might actually be illegal because it's dangerous. For example, right now, in our world personally, you have marijuana is now medicinally okay in Oklahoma.
Yep.
And like half of the states in the union. But cocaine is still illegal. Caffeine and alcohol are fine at a certain age. Or caffeine at any age,
yeah.
but they're still drugs. So aspirin or any other drug, so Shiv in our world might be completely illegal. And it might be something you've cracked down on in the past because of it's dangerous. If anyone's doing it, it's dangerous. But you actually mentioned
Rotweed.
Rotweed. Profanus, is that what you?
Yeah, there was another one that
Yeah.
was like that.
Which
That
I love.
Arian.
I know you just made up on
Yeah,
the right on
Carbanus had just made up on the
fabulous.
time.
Michael, you're on the right track with that because the way I was looking at Shiv was, yeah, no big deal, but this is something special.
Yeah.
And it's
Yes.
like not. I mean,
There's a
if you talk to
outbreak.
somebody who did like meth in the 80s and 90s versus someone who's doing meth today, they're two completely different drugs. So maybe the Shiv that's on the street now is that element.
It's bath
of,
salts.
It's something that's making the spiders come through the veil and attack you and yeah.
Or is it, what is it? The opium now has when they say the opium's got laced with fentanyl.
Yeah.
Or,
Oh,
fentanyl.
right.
Yeah, that it
Everything's
becomes-
laced with fentanyl.
Yeah, but it becomes even more dangerous and possibility
Yeah.
of overdosing. So maybe that's where Shiv is like, oh my gosh, this is causing a real problem.
So I didn't catch this when I was at the table. Y'all started doing your quarters and bits thing, and I was like, I'm out.
Yeah, Kiri and Connor were eye
We'll get the
rolling.
quarters and bits.
We were eye rolling so hard, I think I strained a muscle.
And
I didn't get the reference. I just thought it was fun and joined in with Michael.
Yeah, and so
But they got
on my-
armor and shields and weapons to yield. I mean, it's handcrafted.
Stop.
You should come.
Stop!
It is one thing to listen to it and you actually have the reference with Jeremy actually doing it. It's another when you just off the cuff do it. But so I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't catch Brooke's sneaky little attempted drug deal with Dr. Stone.
Yes, that's what I said. Yes, it was just a mention there, and I'm like, and there were so many great. If you've listened to all 4 of the episodes, hopefully you have, because we're probably spoiling a lot.
Yeah, we didn't give any warners today. We
Go
just jumped
back
right in.
and listen to the 4 episodes because there are little Easter eggs of what's coming.
Spider
later on.
eggs.
Yeah,
Yeah.
spider eggs.
Oh yeah, Moxie's gonna be scared that there are spiders in her apartment for like the next 5
yeah.
years.
So anyway, go ahead. You're still saying.
But yeah, I just love how Brooke, even at like a moment where y'all are just doing a
banter.
bit,
Yeah.
and potentially, definitely, some of us were not paying attention during that part, that you were able to slip in kind of like a decent foreshadow for the next thing that we would be tackling.
Yeah, thank you very much. And I think that what August said, or what, God, if I can get my brain to
Stone.
recognize people
Dr.
versus
Stone.
characters, right? That Johnny and Michael were just talking about, in that maybe Shiv was okay for a while, but this is something different. This is fentanyl Shiv, right? Like this is phase. It's made from phase spiders, but this is like there's something else. I think Connor said a second ago
phase
that's
shift.
bringing
Yeah.
something
Oh, yeah.
through, right?
It's horrid.
Yeah.
And so and which means there might be someone behind it trying.
We're just getting
to,
really bad contact eyes.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, as you step within a certain range, then suddenly you're susceptible to whatever's happening.
Well, and maybe that's why there, maybe there are, if you say don't make that canon, because now the suspicion is that there are some people in the dens who aren't high, who are there to mooch off of the area of effect, if you will.
Well, if it's a cultist type thing, if they're trying to, ritualists who are trying to summon something, so if you get enough people in this den who are on this.
Like shamans and peyote.
Yeah.
What all could you pull through the veil?
But it was.
Dun,
I
dun,
thought it was
dun.
really great
And, like, for how
storytelling, unintentional storytelling. That maybe we've just gotten good at kind of seeing what the story needs and like what we could do to make that happen.
Yeah.
Because Connor and Michael had their bit with their Shiv experience. Moxie. There's people in the building.
Yeah.
Moxie.
So reporters coming back from the 9/11.
That too.
Oklahoma City
both
bombing.
Both
Both
the
super
Mamura.
important.
We're recording this on April 19th.
30 years.
The curator of the museum is actually the sister of my friend Lori, which is wild. Hi. They don't listen to the podcast.
My brain didn't catch you jumping into a real world moment, and so you were saying the sister of the museum, and I'm like, what museum in Ironsburg?
No. Okay, so
I was
anyway,
wait, what?
I think we've just gotten really good at storytelling that, Sable and Dr. Stone have their interaction with Shiv and everything. Moxie has been triggered into this, and I don't necessarily think that you were, like, I'm the one that volunteers, hey, August, are you in my bar right now? Right. I can't go to the sleazy bar alone. It would be a bad idea.
Yes.
And we get to have that scene in the I always think
The
of
great MacDougall's version,
right. That's what
of,
that was my
the
thought. Is
mermaid.
that it's the Muppets, but it's the Muppets version of the Siren song,
Yeah.
the off-brand.
That's McDougal.
So
also.
poorly, terribly
McDowell's.
carved mermaid on the clapboard.
And
and-
instead of being this like safe, clean, wonderful women-owned business, it's now this sleazy, dirty, gross, drug-dealing men-owned business. It's really great, and she has to trust August a little bit, and I think that trust has definitely been earned through everything that happens at the Copper Moon. Like, she's learned to trust your judgment, if nothing else. Like, you might be a little brash, you might rush into accusing a man of slaughtering children's arms, but if you say, let me do the talking, let me do this, and I think for me at the table, Johnny and thus August gets a little something in their voice. I feel like August probably gets a look in his eye that kind of like says, okay, we're serious right now. Yeah. Be cool, be chill. But yeah, there was a really cool interaction where I just got to stand there.
Yeah.
You were the heavy.
I was the heavy.
Although the giving the 2 gold.
Gold to the bartender.
What did you roll that you gave back one of those gold pieces? Oh, did that end up in the?
It did. Yeah, no. It was.
Okay.
It was
in
totally
the episode.
It was.
I couldn't remember if I cut that in or looked
It was
at that.
totally in the episode.
He felt bad because he didn't give me any information.
Brooke himself. I didn't expect Kiri to lay out 2 gold pieces. Like, just put $200 on the table, right? for this
Listen,
guy.
we've had this conversation before. Kiri has no idea how money works in D&D, and this is why she doesn't deal with any of it. More reason for her to give Zaylen Pierce his money back. Kiri doesn't know how much money that
Basically,
is.
she just gave Dr. Stone, which is good because then I can buy scrolls and
Exactly.
healing potions and stuff like
help
that.
Help things for the party. And I thought to myself, this guy just doesn't know anything, right? He's not that engaged with it, and so I just rolled to see where's this guy at? Is he the type of guy who would feel bad? Is he actually kind of got a little heart of gold inside, or is he just like, thanks, love, and would take it? And sure enough, I was surprised. I was like, oh, he does. Maybe it's because she's a good-looking tiefling, or maybe it's just because he has a heart of gold.
But he's with a heart of gold.
He just slides part of it back, right? So
I mean, thinking about those things, I did also appreciate the reappearance of Logan. Having him come back, that was really nice.
Yeah. Go ahead. I'm kind of jumping just a little bit.
I think Logan is a cool character.
Yes.
And so I'm interested to see what he's able to come up with, and if he's able to come up with anything useful, or if he's just going to come back with So there's this girl. She works in the kitchen. She says she doesn't want to have dinner with me, but I know she does. I can see it in her eyes.
I want to track that, but right before we do, can we, about August Hovel, how has he been living there since he got kicked out of the guard? Like, was he staying at the barracks and then had no place to go?
Well,
or?
he thought about begging for roof, but that was just kind of unethical. Anyone get that reference?
No.
Sorry, yeah.
I like the phrase, though.
You know how, like, whenever you travel, you don't want to pay for a hotel room, so you go to a bar and you find some cute guy and they buy you a drink and then you go home with him and sleep with them.
No.
Boom, you had a place to stay. Wake up in the morning, take a shower, leave, begging for roof.
Okay.
Anyways, no.
Oh, you said banging.
I
thought you said begging.
Yeah.
No, sorry.
That's all right.
Otherwise, you would have understood.
Yeah.
Here he's
Lots of
calling
times. Yeah,
Street.
she's the whole time.
So no, when he was given the boot, he went home and thought. I mean, here's some backstory. You want it? He might tell you this in game, but here it is. Here it is in the round table. Woohoo! He goes home to see his parents and is walking to go home and see his parents. They don't live far away.
Right.
Thinking about, how am I going to tell them this? How am I going to tell them I've let them down? I'm not the son they think I am. And he gets there and decides to tell them that he is just on leave. And
There
then
we go.
it comes time where it's like, hey, weeks go by. It's like, shouldn't you be getting back? Oh, yeah, you're right. I do need to not be here because I have a job with the city guard and need to go. So he left and went home, or back to the city, and was like, and just sort of played it by ear until he fell in with Moxie and was like, I'll help you take the trash out one day. And one thing led to another, and he's on the roof.
Use that trash can as a stepping stool to the roof.
Yeah,
How many buildings away are you from me?
I am on top of your building.
Oh, no, I thought it was like two buildings down.
No. He walked out the door, went around the corner between the building next door was a narrow alley.
Yeah.
And walked almost
you're
to the
telling
very
me.
end.
I didn't catch that either.
Yeah, no. In my head this whole time, it has from episode 1 is going to be August lives in a shack behind it. And I was like, no,
That'd be too easy to
that would be
see.
too easy. He lives on top of
You're
it.
telling me I've never been on my own roof?
If you have, it looks like any other shack where you would.
I mean, I
house
guess we don't
something
have
to-
we don't have an air conditioner to put up there because
Yeah.
this is
And-
fantasy.
And down at the wharf area, right, you know, a few blocks away, 3 or 4 blocks away, right, there are so many shanties.
Wait, August,
that
are you
just,
Baccarat?
Yeah, I was about to say, the only person we've seen on the roof so far.
We haven't seen them at the same time
Because
together.
I made a joke when
Well, actually,
Baccarat first
but we
appeared.
know because Baccarat was not in, because we were not in town. We were coming into
No,
town.
Yeah.
right. But the joke the joke that Connor and I made at the time was, I got to get better security on my roof. I got to get better roof security. I got to put a fence up there or something. And so,
Yeah, I totally did not catch that either. That's fantastic.
That's funny. I love that.
I didn't
It's
catch it either. Yeah, there you go.
But
this is actually really, really great because then we're being book talk girly theorists here. You probably heard because I feel like the whole freaking building could have heard
The
Harmony scream. And then you kind of casually walk in a minute later.
Yeah.
So you're
it's dinner
sleeping
time.
in your shack, and the scream happens. You jump up, and go, my hair.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's absolutely fantastic.
Glimpse of the future. The mattress that August has acquired that is set up on top of some crates.
Yeah.
When he pulls it back is his weapon storage.
That makes sense too.
Glimpse of the future.
Yeah.
Especially since he's got a lot of weapons.
Yeah.
So basically, when you said you need more security on your roof, you actually do have more security.
I have plenty of security on the roof.
That's why it's so quiet up there all the time. Because
Well, and then the siren song is, I always pictured as like at least 4 stories, because you've got ground floor tavern, second floor is Rhapsody and Moxie's apartment, and I've talked about having multiple rooms, so I figured we probably need a third and maybe a fourth.
And sometimes people would swear when they look up at the top in passing at night that you have
Listen.
a gargoyle, but sometimes not.
Room,
Dun, dun.
room 7, which
Batman.
would be on the 4th floor, has a drafty window.
Batman.
We're book talk theorist girlies now.
There you go.
I am the terror that flaps in the night.
Darkwing Duck.
Yep.
Darkwing Duck.
Suck gas, evildoers, and then I fart.
I want to use that moment to come back to world building in a moment.
Okay.
But first, to jump off of what Kiri said, I don't know about the rest of you, but I have so much fun playing Logan. He is
Yes,
fantastic.
I'm hoping he becomes a fan favorite.
Yeah. And the interplay, another moment in which we were just freewheeling. We
Yeah.
were just going, no script, nothing, no plan at all. And it was just fantastic to
I
do
think
Logan
that's-
and August with you.
Brooke has joked this, but I'm trying to think of a way to make it serious, where Brooke and Johnny take off on our own with the August and Logan show.
And I know we talked about
It's
this on
just us having a
previous.
beer and talking.
We talked about this on previous roundtables about how something that this campaign has that kind of distinguishes it from our first two shows is that the secondary characters are really rich and really complex and rounded, and everybody has one except Michael. So Michael, I'm going to need you to make a
You're saying
secondary.
my character isn't rich and he's secondary.
You need a secondary character. You need a little pal.
No.
We need to get you.
No, it's not going to be Kobe.
We can get you a nice receptionist.
That is a very good point, Kiri.
That we all have one except Michael.
Well, in our other campaigns, they've always been like
Well, and part of it is
a
because
joke or something.
right,
or,
and
yeah.
and part of it is in our other campaigns we were moving.
Yeah, we traveled.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
were
yeah,
traveling,
yeah.
and so we didn't have
We
time.
have some
to,
reoccurring, but yeah.
and so in this one we have these characters that are kind of like video game NPCs. Like if you want to find Rhapsody, she's in her studio. You know exactly where to find her, right? If you want to find Arya, she's probably in the kitchen unless it's her day off, right? It's Minthra's always
They're
in
all
her
gonna
office.
have catchphrases in a few episodes.
We can trigger these things, and so it's really I think that that's something that we've done that Brooke has empowered us to do, is to make these characters and to kind of have say over them. I mean, you hear it happen in the show. Brooke asked me which of your girls is the most naive.
Right.
And young, and I'd make a joke and say it's Melody because I didn't want to hear the harmony voice anymore.
It was the most annoying thing. And I loved
That
it.
was one of my favorite outtakes. Can you make this one normal? Oh, yeah, boss.
Cracked myself up. That was awesome.
Yeah, I think it really helps to establish that us as characters have roots in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and
And
that's why
it doesn't have to
Dr.
be-
Stone doesn't have a secondary
Yeah.
character.
Yeah.
And
Good point.
Yeah.
Oh, that's an amazing point.
I'm a fish out of water here.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess you actually probably would have
you have Iris
Dr. Stone Cipher.
Stone Cipher. You
Yeah.
at least have some knowledge of her background because you went to medical
Yeah.
school together and
Right,
everything.
right.
Well, we didn't go to medical school. We went to we were in the orphanage together. She went to Ironspire to get her medical degree. I stayed in
Iron Spire Academy.
Yeah, I went to Calamera. Stayed in Calamera to get
Yep,
my
yep,
medical
yep.
degree.
Oh, so she went to Johns Hopkins and you went to
Yeah, I went to
local
State
school.
College. Yeah.
I'm so inspired for a backstory flashback now. We're gonna do it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be great. Go ahead.
But yeah, it's like, and it goes to show you don't have to have a million characters like Kiri. You can have, which that's not.
Oh, they're not.
Um,
Listen, like here's the thing though. Like Rhapsody, super fleshed. My girls, I know their names. I know their basic vibes.
Yeah.
Arya's more responsible. She's in her
Yeah.
mid-20s. She's dating a guard. Apparently, his name is Steven.
and it's,
Which is so weird. What a weird name.
What a
for
Such
weird
an
name.
odd name. It's with an F.
Steven. You ever heard that joke? The guy who goes into a Starbucks and he says,
no, it's written in Old English script. You stop the S's when the F's.
That's awesome. You're trying to say something smart. Go
As
ahead.
a DM, you can empower your players to help you world build.
This is
Well,
true.
yeah, that too. But it's like you don't have to have a million characters. You can have one solid character that also helps make
Yeah.
the world feel, or the city feel fleshed out.
That being said, as players, you need to not overuse them, right? I'm in a combat, and it would be really easy for me if I were a jerk player at a table to be like, Rhapsody totally needs to blah, 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 blah.
I get the vibe Rhapsody is like, no girl, like usually, like she was there if something went really south.
Right,
Yeah.
well,
But
and
otherwise, she just like, throwing you into the deep end of the
see
pool.
It. She says,
She also
what
can't
is
see
it?
it.
What is
Exactly
it? What's
right.
going on? But there's also, like, I had made a joke, what's Rhapsody's initiative? And he, like, rolled it. And I was like, oh, Brooke, I am fully aware that Rhapsody's not getting into this fight. I was making a joke.
Yeah.
No. And, I mean, that's something that I've also utilized with my companions. Wildfire was contributing very rarely because we don't want to draw attention to Wildfire. That's how you get Wildfire killed.
Yeah.
Mudman, I underutilized. I could have used Boar.
Did you?
And yeah, because you personally, Johnny, gave me grief about it. Michael was also like saying, Kiri, use Mudman strategically. You were the one trying to convince me, let him die.
Let him die.
He'll come back.
It's okay.
And so
By the time we got to that final fight, we were starting to use them all.
we were
Yeah.
Mudman and Vin Weasel on their own adventure.
Freaking
Not
Mudman.
catching up to anybody.
Not catching up to anybody because their speed was so slow. But yeah, so I think that it's something like, as a DM, you have conversations where you empower them to make these characters, but you also have to have players that aren't going to be jerks about it.
100%. And that's what's great with this group is we can trust each other for the world building. We can, last round table we teased a little bit about world building view, and so look for this to be on the Patreon. We have a fantastic map that was created by Bree, and is just it's amazing what they did, and that we built that together. I mean, the continent's name, which I don't, episode 1, I think, right? The continent's name, Tanvarel or Tanvariel, depending on which way you want to say it. I think the elves probably say Tanvariel,
Tanvariel,
right?
yeah, 'cause they're
And the
Shenold.
humans are like Tanvarel. So, but
Tanverl.
that was workshopped amongst us, and we went back and forth, and the places that are there. I think maybe I used the name of Calimera, but Michael created, this sister city that I was at. You also created Gearport,
Which no longer exists, technically.
which, technically has been overrun by those dark dwarves that's there. Connor and New Crucible, right? Which we haven't seen reference to in game yet, but this place where your dad went, is that right?
He went to New Crucible.
Headed off to New Crucible and never came back. This
For a pack of cigarettes?
Yeah.
Yep. This dwarven citadel, that's out there at the edge of the Mistspire Mountains, and all of those things will make sense when you look at the map on Patreon.
Yeah.
So,
And I think you also created the Sapphire Society, too.
In conjunction with
I mean,
Brooke.
Yeah.
So it's like, I need to be a part of something.
you bet.
If I'm going to play a rogue, I need a guild.
Yeah.
And like I said, I love the fact that we all, really kind of created all these backstories that added to your world with you and the
our world,
Guard,
yeah.
and with you with your with the Siren Song. I mean, it's just there's all this stuff that was added together, probably more so than any other campaign we've done.
Yeah.
Well, and
been so much fun.
it doesn't, we'll see. We never know what happens. It doesn't look like we have left. We're going to be leaving the continent, but let me tell you, when I was writing Rhapsody's pirate backstory, I know a lot of stuff out there. There are islands, there are mermaids, there is mystery.
Yeah.
Well, and it's only one small continent. It's not a very large continent.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably about a couple size, 2 times size of Australia or something.
It's like
Australia's really big.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. So if 2 times the size of Australia, it's fairly large, but it's
In my
still
head,
not
it's-
Eurasia.
No. In my head, it's probably 2,000 miles across.
Yeah.
Give or take, something like that. So kind of Americana in a way.
Yeah.
But yeah. So. And Calimera is, and again, look on the map on Patreon. Calimera is probably 300 miles away. New Crucible 150. So it really is like this idea of what would colonial times been like if only 3 or 4 major cities developed along the seaboard, so to speak, right? What
Moxie's
if-
mom is also from somewhere, and you told me once. I don't remember.
There we go. And I don't have that.
Your mom's from Calamera.
I don't think so.
No,
I
it wasn't
we talked
Calamera.
about
There was
it.
another
It was
city.
another
okay.
city.
Yeah.
So real quickly before because I do want to get into other things. I want to talk about a very serious issue. I want to talk about quarters and bits
Yeah.
I also
because for people who don't know, if they are just listening to Red Dirt D&D,
You do not get why it's so
you don't
hilarious.
understand why this is so funny. Okay, so here's the thing. So on the Pathfinder show, Wayfinder Legends, that is also being done through Red Dirt RPG.
Yes.
There's a place called Quarters and Bits that Stacy came up with, and because it was just funny, I guess Jeremy decided who plays Body decided to make a jingle for it.
Yes. Yes.
And I loved it. Now, I didn't understand that Quarters and Bits. I think it's only weapons and it's like an armory.
Mostly. They've got everything. You
Yeah.
know,
Well,
so.
but because mostly it seemed like it was just an army. But I wanted to be like, do you remember the old Walmarts, the original Walmarts, before they made the super centers?
The 5 and dimes.
It-
Yeah.
it- Basically, yeah, 5 and
Kinda like a
dimes.
Walmart
You
neighborhood
could get
market
what you
now.
needed, and then the super centers came. So I think that the one in Ironspire is more like the Quarters and Bits super center. So you can get anything you want, not just this little rinky-tinky stuff, not just armor and shields.
I like the idea because it was kind of mentioned as a joke, but I like the idea that it's all quarters and bits are the same store. It just pops in and out. It
Of
moves.
existence?
Yeah,
It moves.
yeah.
It's like
It's-
a room requirement.
It's the room. It's
Store
the,
requirement.
the quarters and bits of requirement.
Or it's not like it pops out of it. It's just all the same place.
It's
all the
same
They
place. That's what I'm
exist
saying.
in every
That's
one of them.
1,000%.
the
God, it's like
the
the-
building.
The feast place.
There's
The
a show called From on MGM.
Oh, yeah?
It's worth buying MGM. And when you drive into this town and go, oh, look, a small town, and you drive out of it, you drive right back into it again, kind of like Schmigadoon, yes.
Yes,
But,
I was about to say,
but
whoa,
it's like-
Schmigadoon.
no. It's a horror because
Dun, dun.
you can't get out. There's no solve the riddle of the magical song and fall in love, and you're out. And at
Technically, though,
nighttime,
Schmigadoon would be a horror too.
at
if they-
nighttime, creatures come out of the woods and destroy you.
Ugh.
Like literally eat you alive. Yeah,
Ugh.
but the point is of that show is they're always looking at license plates because it's like, where were you driving? I was in Utah. Weird. I was in New York when I was driving and came across this town.
Oh,
I was
wow.
in California when I came here. I just crossed the Canadian border. The town, it just pulls you in from wherever you are. It is
Nice.
nowhere and
Yeah.
everywhere
I
at once.
but I do
Well,
like
and
the fact that
there's-
it exists in every that, and hopefully, like I said, I'm trying to get Aiden to put this into Red Dirt Outlaws, a place where every place you go is the exact same with the halfling.
Also, like I like to imagine that where Quarters and Bits is, if you were in the city before Quarters and Bits was there, it was an alley, and then a door appeared, and now that door, when you go into that door, you're technically like plane shifting into the store.
yeah.
Which makes in Wayfinders we've bantered a little bit about how much, I don't think on mic, maybe we have, but about
big
how
on the
much fun
inside.
it would be that then you run into, Murphy from Mysteries of Beatrix, or
Yeah.
you run into,
Elias Stone.
Body and
Oh, that would
August
be
meet or something like that, right?
fantastic.
That in
And
as the
Inara was
DM
there,
as the
yeah.
DM in the background, you see this, you see this short copper-haired barbarian woman walk by, with a ward,
Now we
right?
could actually run into Falwyn
You-
because we have Falwyn here at the table.
Yeah.
She'd ignore you.
Oh, completely.
She would give you the time to do it.
I'm,
She's stroking her cat.
I'm a doctor. I think that'd be fine. If Kobe came in, that would be a problem.
That would be
Because we've
awesome.
all decided Falwyn's a little bit of a racist. So,
Oh, but she's
Episode-
pink.
that might be a problem. Oh dear, you're pink. I could just totally Falwyn be so condescending to Moxie.
Like you said, a little racist.
If you just want to jump, episode 22 and 23 of Wayfinder Legends, I think, is where we find the first appearance of Quarters and Bits, and
Yes.
then it shows up a little bit later, of course.
So as we end this, I want to talk about this ending where Johnny came in and saw this guy.
yeah.
And
We're in the mermaid.
The way you turn and say, "Is there anybody else in the room?" and you said there's a guy in the back, and then you guys just took off with this.
Well, it's because if you remember last recording session, Johnny was like, "Hey, Brooke, I need to talk to you in this corner over here privately."
That's what I was going to get to. Because for our listeners, did you guys plan who this guy was going to be? How much?
Nothing that
planning?
happened in that scene and the dialogue that went down
100%.
and the way the interaction was had anything to do with Brooke and I walking around the corner saying, "Hey, you got a second?"
Yep. That was something completely different.
Yeah.
That was just the magic of Johnny Payne and being able to send me
Brooke
ESP thoughts. And I was just like, okay, we're on the vibe. Like,
Well,
here
yeah.
we
It's
go.
just-
We've been playing together
Brooke
for
is really
5
good
years
at
at this
finishing
point.
Johnny's.
Yes.
Sandwiches. They haven't been invented yet.
And we've been playing together in storytelling for pretty complex stories
Yeah.
for 5 years now.
I've
So-
discovered over the years there are two people in D&D. There are the people who cannot fathom anything outside of published material, and then there's people who are really good at making stuff up on the fly. Now, on the making stuff up on the fly, there's two clubs in that one. There's and then flaming monkeys come out of the ceiling and they're stabbing everyone and they die, and then there's good storytelling. Brooke is of the good storytelling camp on that one, and so he just picked up he just followed my lead.
It takes me a minute. Sometimes
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, with
that's what
Connor,
editing's
I'm
for.
kind of like sometimes I have some William Shatner moments
Yeah,
where I'm
that's what
like,
editing's
and then they are standing at a door, right? I mean, it takes me a moment.
But it
sometimes,
helps that this is not from an written material. This
Yeah.
is all.
Well, and you also have to remember, because we were just talking about this, that, and correct me if I'm wrong, Brooke hadn't planned for Moxie to go to the mermaid at all.
No.
Moxie was supposed to be at the first
Oh,
ship
that was
attack.
I was going to say that. This was just
In the rough
you said,
draft.
I'm going to wherever it was she got this up. It's like,
Yeah.
And I'm listening to this going, Brooke, how did you? I mean, you came up with a place.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was
he's
totally. It's totally just. It was totally out of the because like the mermaid didn't exist, and the mermaid didn't exist, and that scene with you had implied at some point maybe like a drug, maybe there'll be a drug connection that you knew stuff, but like the actual drugs, like oh my gosh, right?
So what he was trying to do is he was trying to play it where, in the presence of Moxie, this is a guy who knows things.
Right.
But in August's reality, this guy is holding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that whole, that whole setup, that was not in the rough, that was not in the outline of the script for those episodes because presumably.
Because Connor didn't include Geary
Right.
because Moxie
Because
said, I don't
Moxie,
want to be part
it
of
was
this.
perfect role play.
I have a life.
So, it just was the magic. It was just the magic that happened.
Bravo.
It was great.
In the meantime, I'm going to the orphanage.
Yes,
You're just now leaving the
mermaid.
I'm heading back to your doctor's office
with
with
boy in the
Peter.
red
Well,
silk
it-
shirt.
yeah.
Didn't it end with August sitting on the edge of his bed holding?
No,
It ended with you taking it.
Yeah, we
Okay,
just
yeah,
ended
yeah,
with
yeah.
you
Just took it
taking
walked
it and
out.
walk it out.
Yeah, okay.
So,
So
In my
there's
head, that's where it ended.
There's so much more that's going to happen, and for that, we don't know what's going to happen. We're going to find out, and then you can find out next week when we go on to the
I know
show.
we were running over, but
no, go for it. We can have a long.
Yeah.
We can have a long one. Go.
sorry. I really loved the role play that Kyrie and I did. I know it was weird. I know I came
parrots?
out weird with parrots.
But it made sense.
Yeah.
It was
But,
fun.
I can see it, white robe.
Hob, little Hob, and everything. Yeah, I got it. In this world, Rhapsody loves Boyds.
And so I did kind of want to just point out, at least in the round table, that is Sable being like, I've got two ways I could go about what I do in the future.
Yeah.
Yes.
And-
was it referencing to like killing people?
No.
Okay. like letting people
So-
live, maybe.
So
From my point of view, from the listener at least, it sounded like Sable grappling with what Minthra essentially puts out as an ultimatum.
Yeah.
We can be behind Pierce and ride his coattails, or we can cut him off at the head.
Yeah.
And that choice that.
And is it also just Minthra and the Sapphire Society also in general, that sometimes there's things that you are being asked to do that is the devil on your shoulder, that your
red parrot.
Your other side is saying, the red parrot, that the white parrot is saying,
cockatiel.
yeah, so it really comes about of Minthra being, we should look into potentially supporting Zaylin. And Sable having been, I don't like that he's doing this with children. And her being like, I don't care about morals.
right.
And so you are seeing a little bit of, there is a limit to what Sable will do. There is a limit. Like he has, I'll just go ahead and say he has a hard limit of at least children. Of children, I'm not going to kill, I'm not going to harm them in any way. And especially kids that follow his background of what you guys know, at least having been heard from Zaylin Pierce, of he used to live on the streets.
These are your kids. These are the same kids. Of course, I mean, I think for you and I, actually, I mean, being raised in an orphanage as well, I think we have empathy for these children because of our past.
And so her being like, well, that doesn't matter. Get rid of essentially Sable's morals.
Yeah.
He's having a little bit of a hard time, and he puts his trust into Moxie of being, what should I listen to? Should I listen to Minthra, or should I listen to what's telling me isn't right about this?
It's almost suddenly like they're these two mom figures in a way, or two aunts, or two sisters, or something like that.
Well, and something that's really, really interesting as well, if we are still having our book talk theory girly hats on, is that Moxie points you to, oh, you mean like the egg thing, and points us back to that because that was, you were mad at me. Sable was mad, and Moxie and Sable had kind of a fight that didn't actually happen in real time. It was just like,
spat.
Right. Well, and we've all had those situations where something is kind of said, and you never really argue about it, but you understand, like, oh, okay, we're not friends right now.
On the same page.
Right. And so, bringing it back around to that, and then you really see Moxie and her personality kind of deflecting that as well, because she says, what Rhapsody would have done is what I would have done, which is what you should do, which is follow your heart. But let me tell you, if your heart's telling you to kill Moxie, your heart's a liar, don't listen to it.
Yeah.
And so...
And that's kind of also why I didn't go with the egg thing, is because I did want to make it that two voices kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that's why I went on the weird tangent about the
parents.
Which in my stupid pop culture reference, I just see like that moment in Emperor's New Groove with
it's
Kronk,
Kronk.
and the two like, hey, listen, big guy, we got a couple of things we can do.
But I think that conversation being about the egg also healed that fight that they had.
Yeah.
And so they are, because in that same conversation is the same one that I commiserate about Dr. Stone.
Yeah.
just telling where your address is. I mean, I guess I did too, but that's I have an established business.
What does Dr. Stone bring anyway? Oh, except for maybe
life.
Yeah.
He'll never be life.
He can save us.
Yeah. And
Keep us from
so
dying.
with what Moxie had told Sable is where Sable goes back to talk to Minthra and has that long pause and kind of still contemplating what he should tell her. And which essentially leads to, like, don't support him yet, kind of just keep an eye on him.
Yeah.
Essentially.
Well, and we've talked about it on a previous roundtable, but I also think that it seems like to the outsider, to the listener, that Minthra doesn't always think about what's best for the Sapphire Society. Sometimes she thinks what's best for Minthra. Right. And so,
because Minthra's not in charge of the Sapphire Society. So Minthra is also thinking about what's going to get me moving up.
Right.
In the
She's
Sapphire
higher
Society.
ranked than Sable, but she's not the highest ranked.
So she's going to be thinking, you're right, not only thinking about what's
in this pyramid scheme.
Because this might hurt the Sapphire Society, but if it means I can advance in the Sapphire Society, then all the better.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. We need to close this down.
Yeah, we do.
Sorry, I just wanted to
everybody.
get that out before.
No, that was fantastic. So, and it ties all the way back to kind of the beginning where when you're having interplays with characters, it's always great to check back in with players, because Minthra and Sable have a pretty harsh. Minthra's very harsh, right? And she even says some barbs, and so then afterwards, it's always good to be like, love you, Connor.
Yeah.
You know, right? And so
I
always
built
do that
her
too.
this way. I understand.
Yeah. 100%. So
Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
so much fun to have you guys here with us all the time. Keep listening, keep telling your friends about all of the fantastic shows you can listen to here on Red Dirt RPG.
I'm Johnny Payne.
Kieran Hester.
Michael Cross.
Connor Shenold.
Brooke Bullock.
Bye-bye.